Very excited to welcome to the program our next guest, the co-creator of The Daily Show. You might have heard of it, as well as the founder of the Abortion Access Front, Lizz Winstead. Welcome to the Damage Report.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Very glad to have you on. We hear that you've been busy lately. What have you been up to?
You know, you'd think that there is really taking to the streets is just sort of relegated to racial justice work right now, and it's really important. But turns out the anti-abortion forces, patriarchy doesn't take a holiday during a pandemic. It doesn't take a holiday. It doesn't social distance. It doesn't wear a mask. It really doesn't do anything. And so my group at Abortion Access Front decided that where they go, we will go safely. And so there's an organization called Operation Save America, which is sort of the most influential hate group you might never have heard of. And it has been-
I had not, actually.
Right. And so it's been our mission for the past couple of years to really let folks know that the sort of intersections of racism, sexism, homophobia, Islamophobia, anti-immigrant behavior kind of leads with this group called Operation Save America. They are the ones who you see mostly outside of abortion clinics with those, big gigantic signs of bloody fetuses. But they're also the people who are leading the charge on the COVID is a hoax front. They are burning Qurans in front of mosques. They're leading the front in deport families at the border because they're polluting America. And I think a lot of folks oftentimes shy away from jumping into the anti-abortion sort of activism because they seem really, really scary. And so their scariness is by design. So people are like, I don't want to mess with them. And it's like, right, but they are also quietly leading the charge against the issues that most people care about in the realm of progressive politics.
Yeah, and look, I get people's fear. I mean, anti-abortion activists, the extremists have committed murders and terrorist attacks and bombings, and it is scary for a lot of people. I thought it was interesting, the most recent week-long campaign that you engaged in was Operation Save America Unmasked. I think I already know without asking, but I'm gonna guess that at their most recent rallies, they're not wearing masks, I would guess.
No, since COVID started, they didn't wear masks. And the thing they were profound. I think a lot of folks don't know that when the pandemic hit and governors and attorneys general from around the country were saying places that are non-essential have to close, they deemed clinics that provide abortion as non-essential work. And every single clinic almost had to sue to say, you can't put abortion on pause. The belly button is not a pause button. Pregnancies move regardless of whether or not there's a pandemic. And so clinics were fighting really hard, and the churches were using this rallying, we're gathering people regardless, and using the pandemic as a rallying cry to say, be even more aggressive outside of clinics, because, for example, clinics were taking precautions by having patients wait in their car until they were called into their appointments. So these unmasked people were flocking to their cars and just really terrorizing patients and the people going into work. And so they have been extreme in not only doing it at the clinics, but leading the charge, my body, my choice, which you cannot be pro-life and anti-mask. It does not work. I'm sorry, that is just anathema. So they have a giant annual event every year where they usually gather in a town, and then it's a siege on a town, and they go to the clinics. They will be in parks. They lobby elected officials. They're very, very influential at writing model legislation. And again, when you hear in the news, like, how did that ban get passed where they say that ectopic pregnancies are actually real pregnancies and you shouldn't be able to get rid of it? It's these people who have gotten one of their own elected into office or have influenced those already elected to create this legislation. So they're not just fringe, they're actually making policy. So they had a virtual conference this year, and we signed up for it, and we attended every one of their virtual seminars, and we pulled the sound clips, and we decided to take a week to expose them with their own words, and created a massive website you can go to. It's called osaunmasked.com. And you can see what they did every day, what their calls to action are, who the people are that they're influencing. So many of them are pastors around the country. And it's not just like a Southern thing, it's a Midwestern thing. It's all around the country. So we're hoping that people will get more involved, because we decided this week of action is just going to become part of our activism year round, because it's super important for folks to know what these people are doing.
Yeah, the website sounds incredibly helpful for the many people probably watching this that, like me, hadn't heard about this organization. And so I have a question about that, actually.
Yeah.
Because I cover the legal challenges at the state level, the attempts to shut down the clinics, those sorts of things. And I hadn't heard of this organization. Now, generally, right-wing organizations like this, activist networks that produce model legislation, they want a high profile. They want money and donations and things like that. Are they trying to keep a low profile, or is this a failure of people like me in the media to not pick up on something that's important but sort of in the shadows?
I think it's more of the latter. And I think that I think that there's so much going on in the world right now, and always has been. But I think there's been a failing in progressive politics as a whole to center bodily autonomy and issues around reproductive health and justice as an issue that everyone should care about. I can't tell you how many progressives have said to me, I hope you women can get that figured out. It's so terrible. Women really need to do more. And it's like, we actually all need to do more. And we all sort of need to figure out that if you don't have control over how and when you want to start a family, that is the first step towards 100%, pursuance of your own destiny and the very fundamentals of being a human, right? And so we all kind of need to be in that space of saying, I need to center reproductive care and reproductive access and justice in my work. If I care about human rights, I got to care about that. So I think it's a reframing. And for a long time, you had second wave feminists, being like, men need to butt out, men need to shut up. And it's like, no, men need to listen and support, and we need to embrace that. And so I feel like it's a long reinvention, as well as it is getting folks to really understand that it's not a wedge issue. The Democratic Party has often been terrible at saying, we can compromise on abortion. It's like, really, what part of me making my own decisions about my body is up for grabs? What part of that do you get to step in and say? If the answer is any part of that, then we need to, shut that down.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.